Hi everyone, this is Awais Khan. I'm so glad to be moderating today's session called Women in Publishing: Challenges and Opportunities in Pakistan. So this particular panel deals with a variety of things. So we will be discussing publishing woes, lack of literary agents, copyright violations, and the role of female publishers in Pakistan. This discussion also seeks to find answers to these issues and questions, as well as looks into the politics of storytelling, male dominance in decision-making roles in self-publishing, etc. Uh, we're talking also from the perspective of Authors Alliance, which is the collective of writers, publishers, bloggers, lawyers, concerned citizens to establish a unique platform for the promotion and protection of rights of Pakistani authors. So it's a very new sort of collective in Pakistan, and it's been started by all of us, Mehr, Laaleen, me, Nida, and Sara. So today I have the pleasure of having some really amazing talents on board. So I'm going to start with Sara Naveed. Sara Naveed is the author of four books. Undying Affinity, Our Story Ends Here, All of My Heart, and The World Between Us. All of them have been published by Penguin Random House India, and she's done a primary education from Ibn Sina English High School and then moved on to Sharjah and later Convent in Jesus Mary. She's completed a bachelor's and master's degree in banking, and she's writing has always been her dream. And she earnestly hopes that people appreciate her writing as an asset. And apart from fiction writing, she's also working as a content head at a leading software house. She lives in Lahore with her family. Then we have Nida Usman, who is the one of the founding members of Authors Alliance in Pakistan. She's an alumni of the prestigious Writing Institute in Lahore, and her short story "Coming of Age" was published in the Stained Glass Window, an anthology of stories in the pandemic from Pakistan, from Liberty Books. She's working for the recognition of writing as an industry in Pakistan, for which she curated the Rethinking Writing as an Industry series with Ulama Polo Media in 2019. She believes in protecting and promoting the work of Pakistani authors and its nascent writing industry, and has curated several sessions of copyrights, piracy, and other legal aspects. She also runs the Research and Education Network, Lahore Education and Research Network, in collaboration with the Writing Institute. Then we have Mehr Husain, who is a British Pakistani journalist, author in Pakistan. She's the author of Pakistan: A Fashionable History, and she has worked in different roles in Pakistan media industry as a features editor at the Friday Times, assistant editor at Good Times, and a columnist for India's Mail Today, where her column "The Lahore Log" also appeared in the Daily Mail. Meher's commentary has appeared in The Economist, The Times of London, The Diplomat, India's Mail Today, The Daily Mail, Libas, The Friday Times, Herald Pakistan Today, The News, and so many more. She was also an editor for Multan, A Spiritual Legacy, which was presented to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth in 2013. In 2018, she founded Zuka, a social enterprises, and set up Zuka Books in 2020. Meher holds an MSc in Asian Politics from SOAS and a BSc in Politics from Queen Mary University of London. She was also accepted at the MPhil in South Asian Studies at St. Edmund's College, Cambridge. Then we have Laaleen Sukhera, who is an eclectic writer, content specialist, and digital media professional. She consults in international communications and PR in the UK, MENA, and South Asia. Laaleen has appeared on TEDx, the BBC, British Council Arts, The Times, while her recent essays have been published in literary journals in the United States. She has appeared as speaker and panelist in Austin, Bangalore, Belo Horizonte, Dubai, Gal, Islamabad, Lahore, London, Minneapolis, Sharjah, Sydney, and Washington. And alumna of Clark University, Laaleen views are often quoted in the press, including The Atlantic, Daily Beast, The Economist, Elle, Glamour, and Vanity Fair. Austenistan, her anthology of commercial fiction, was inspired by Jane Austen and published by Bloomsbury, set among Lahori wedding parties, Karachi salons, and Islamabad ballrooms and Surrey estates. It was a regional bestseller, and is in its second edition. She is represented by WME. And finally, it's we a little bit on me. I am the author. I'm a graduate of the University of Western Ontario and Durham University. I've studied creative writing at the prestigious Faber Academy in London. I am the author of the critically acclaimed bestseller In the Company of Strangers, which was published by Simon and Schuster, The Book Guild, and ISIS Audio. I've recently signed a two-book deal with Arenda Books. My first book from that deal, No Honor, will be published in August 2021. I have given several lectures on creative writing, like at Durham University, American University in Dubai, Canadian University in Dubai, United States, Educational Foundation of Pakistan, etc. I'm also the founding director of the Writing Institute, and I regularly appear on media and television to talk about writing and publishing. I'm represented by Annette Croston at A4 Authors Agency in London. So thank you all for taking out the time to listen to all of this. So let's get
Thank you,
right
Awais.
down to. No, you're welcome. I'd really like to jump right into the fact that what is Author Alliance? So I'm gonna ask Nida first. That what was the inspiration behind Authors Alliance?
Thank you so much, Awais, for that very elaborate introduction. And thank you so much for agreeing to be the moderator for this session, because this is our Authors Alliance panel, and this is part of what, the whole idea behind Authors Alliance was. In Pakistan, of course, we've seen two or three different phenomena converging, and one of it was propelled by people like you who have been talking about the writing industry and who have been promoting it in the way that we've needed to in all these years. So, for example, your writing courses have trained people all across Pakistan. There's a lot more awareness through internet as well. People are writing and expressing themselves in more ways than one, and so there are lots of other publishing platforms that have that people now have access to, which previously they didn't. So on the one hand, we had a lot of people now wanting to express themselves professionally and on proper established forums, and on the other hand, we have seen in the recent past a major crackdown on freedom of speech in Pakistan, for example. And of course, with that, the fact that every other day books are being banned, the writers and the publishers are facing several other challenges. So it's not just the legal challenges, but also the industry level challenges, which of course Mehr, Laaleen, and Sara would be talking about in more detail. But I just want to touch upon it in a brief overview here to explain why we established the Authors Alliance. And that was because of all of these pressures, whether it was piracy at the Urdu Bazaar, or whether it was PDF versions being leaked, whether it's the lack of agents and the lack of support from the government, whether it's not having good quality paper accessible to the printers and the publishers here, whether it's taxes, whether it's any sort of other regulation. So there were a lot of challenges. And the fact that the industry, I mean, there are so many people who want to write and express themselves, and yet the industry is, and of course there are some issues that the publishers have, but then there are some issues that the publishers and the writers are also facing intersay amongst each others. So all of these were basically creating and propelling us. And I remember very clearly, it was 23rd of April last year when we were celebrating the World Book and Copyright Day. And I remember that the whole idea was about copyrights and piracy and the issues that we were facing. And the law banning the books, 100 books, came very recently at that time. So we were battling and questioning all of these issues, and you were bringing all these industry issues as well that Mehr and Laaleen and Sara will be talking about. And I remember that in that conversation we felt that there needs to be a collective voice, because if we won't have a platform, and if we're all fighting our battles individually, you know uh, to create that impact, to be more impactful, to come together, because this has been an issue that is not just yours, Aware, so it's not just Laleen's or Meher's. It has touched so many people in Pakistan who are struggling in their own way. And I think that it needed that collective voice. And I remember that this idea was floated, and there onwards we worked on this collective. We spent many months giving it a structure that we wanted to, and finally on 11th of August we released our launch statement. So here we are. That's We're here to promote and protect the rights and interest of Pakistani authors, publishers, and the writing industry in general. So that's what Authors Alliance is
Absolutely.
about.
I'm so glad that we came up with this organization because obviously there are very little opportunities, few opportunities for writers in Pakistan. But what you say about this actually brings me to my next question, which is to Sara Naveed, that you initially started off as a self-published author, but then found mainstream success with Penguin India. In a country with no literary agents, as Nida was saying, how did you achieve that?
Hi, Awais. Thank you so much for a beautiful introduction and a brief hello to everyone who has joined me in this session. Yeah, it was pretty difficult to get published in a country or in a space where there were no literary agents. For once, went for self-publishing because I couldn't find any publisher in Pakistan at that time. I'm talking about 2013 and 14, and at that time, I guess there were hardly a few publishers, who I contacted, and then they weren't willing to publish my work because they simply told me that they won't publish anything, especially a love story that's being written in English. So yeah, that was quite disheartening and very disappointing. So but I did not feel discouraged at all. I went on with self-publishing thanks to Amazon. They provided me a platform where I could self-publish my book and then promote it on social media. At that time there were no there was no promotional posts on social media. Everything was organic and you did not have to go for paid promotion and stuff like that. And luckily I had a very good following on social media, and that helped me gain a lot of audience. And that's how my self-published my debut book, which was self-published, became a success. And I think owing to that fact, that's how I landed a book contract with Penguin India. I guess they were pretty much impressed with my social media following, and they saw that people were really liking my book and my work. So I think that was one of the reasons my work clicked with Penguin India, and that's how I landed a contract with them. So it was all you know a
It's
biggest it was a dream come true. And yeah, it was I'd say it was a miracle for me getting
yeah,
something from a mainstream publisher. It was a dream.
absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you. But then again, it's also because you're incredibly talented, and nothing happens without a person having that sort of talent. So that's also that goes without saying. So, but
Yeah.
what you say about social media is very interesting because social media has really defined our generation. Which
True.
would bring me to my next question, which is to Laaleen, who's you are behind the major success that is Austenistan, and obviously a voice of reason on social media these days. If anyone who follows Laaleen on social media would agree with me on that. So for many people, however, the thing is that they think that writing promises major money, jumbo money. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, hi everybody, and thank you for tuning in. And thank you, Awais, for calling me a voice of reason. But I assure you, I am equally into memes and all things ridiculous. Yes, you're right. Austenistan was a regional bestseller, and we are in its second edition. But hey, guys, where's the money? I'm just joking. There's very little money in writing. This is something I always tell writers. We all know it. See, Sarah's laughing. Was that you, Sarah? Every single person on this panel has a full-time career where we make an income. Writing is our passion. Yes, writing comes in handy no matter what work we do. But all of us, we all have, I mean, we have Nida's a barrister, Meher's a publisher. She does ethical fashion, textiles. Sara's in IT. Awais, you run a writing institute. I mean, come on, it's not like we're J.K. Rowling. But using the J.K. Rowling analogy, um, first of all, she didn't make a fortune until she was in her 40s. And even then, it was a real long shot. She got rejected by a lot of publishers. I'm not going to go into this because it's so famous. Anyone can just Google this. But for every one J.K. Rowling, there are perhaps a million published authors who are still struggling to pay their bills around the world. And for every published author, there are perhaps a million unpublished manuscripts. So you have to be either half crazy or extremely fortunate to think this is a full-time career.
Absolutely. No, I think that's very well said. And I totally agree that, especially in Pakistan, writing does not get you that kind of money. And yeah, and I think you made a fantastic comparison that for one J.K. Rowling, there are probably a million published authors, and for one published author, there are probably a million unpublished authors. So yeah, that's fantastic comparison. Which
Yeah,
brings
but
me
please,
to my
But please
Yeah.
remember, it's not, I don't really know the statistics. I mean this in a
No, but
very metaphorical sense.
yeah.
1 million.
But
It could
still,
be
I
1,000, it
think it
could be
makes
10,000,
sense.
20,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
100,000.
But then we have a publisher here today, Mehr of Hussain. So my next question is to Mehr, that what exactly led you to start a publishing company in Pakistan?
Hi, Wes. Hello, ladies. Good to see you all. Thank you, Wes, for this very important question. There were several socioeconomic factors that finally pushed me into publishing. I never ever wanted to be a publisher. I still don't. My dream is to be a writer, but such is life. I think publishing was something that it chose me. It thrust itself upon me. And the reasons were, number one, of course, the ban on Indian imports by the Pakistani government following in the wake of the Indo-Pak issue in Kashmir. The second was that when I looked inwards, what I discovered in the Pakistani publishing scene was a complete and utter wasteland. I mean, Nida has articulated what the numerous problems are. And it's a tragedy because ever since my foray into publishing, I've come across so much talent, so many unheard voices, so many different styles, genres of writing. And all that they need is just one chance. One, publishing is a business. Let's just take aside the romanticism of being a writer, of sitting in a lovely room overlooking the hills, the mountains, the sea, or whatever it is. And let's think about this pragmatically. Laaleen is spot on about the money. There is very little money. So what do? Do we stop writing altogether? No, of course not. You figure out a business model that works for you, because I don't have any funding. I don't have any sponsorship. I don't have any investors. I don't have any seed money. I have nothing. I start off.
Mm. I think we lost Mehr for a bit, or is it just me?
Into
Yeah,
publishing. Please be
yeah,
very aware of the fact that you have to define a business model for yourself. You have to be realistic. And on the part of the writers, I would suggest that read. We are a very young nation. 65% of our population is under the age of 40. And I know everybody wants to get published. Everybody wants to be recognized as an author, and why not? That is your right. But on the other hand, you have to understand that this is a very difficult market. In Pakistan, there is demand for books. It really irks when people say, oh, Pakistanis don't read books. No, they do. They do read books. It's just that we are a limited audience, especially the English reading audience. It's very, very limited. You are looking per city at anything between 100 readers to 500 readers. So obviously you have to work around that. And like Sara very correctly pointed out, social media makes a difference. Who are you? What do you do? What do you have to offer? We live in our bubbles, and it's about time that if you want to be.
yeah. I think Mehr is breaking up a little, right? Or is it just me?
Books.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mehr, for this wonderful answer. I totally agree with you. And what you say about readership in Pakistan is actually quite true. We do have a significant readership. It's just that that readership is not coming through proper means, which brings me to my next question, which is a very important one, and that is to Sara Naveed, because we know for a fact that Sara Naveed has a very wide readership in Pakistan, which should by rights make her a very wealthy author. Because I constantly see people posting about her books, and literally every single day I see so many people posting about her books. But it makes me so sad when I see that those people have bought pirated copies, because they either have no idea that they bought a pirated copy, or they deliberately bought it because it's cheaper. So Sara, my question to you is that how does that affect you as a writer? And am I right in saying that this is happening to you, that people are buying a lot of pirated copies of your book?
Yes, absolutely, Awais. You're 100% right. And I have been seeing this for many years now, I guess. Every other day, my DM is, filled with a message or a story or a mention that someone has purchased a pirated copy of my own book. I would have been the next J.K. Rowling of Pakistan if, my
Yeah,
pirated copies weren't selling in Pakistan. Really, I would have been a very wealthy author right now.
true.
But since piracy is here, and that's really concerns me because at the end of the day, I do not get a single penny. So yes, it definitely affects me because we as authors put in a lot of effort and hard work when it comes to writing and creating stories for readers. So absolutely, we do want to make something out of it, and every author deserves a monetary benefit. So yeah, it does affect me, and that's why I'm glad that we have platforms like Authors Alliance that can help in protecting the rights of authors, and help us in reducing the book piracy in Pakistan. I really hope we can do something about it because that's really concerning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. I do think you're definitely our J.K. Rowling of Pakistan, but the pirated J.K. Rowling. Literally,
Yeah,
because it makes me so mad because I follow you on social media, and the people who are, I don't know what they see, but they constantly post pictures of pirated books, and I'm like, guys, please buy original, and it's not even expensive. The pirated
exactly.
copy is for 300, and the original is for 450. I mean, it's
You know,
literally the difference of
Yes, you
100
won't
rupees.
believe me, but they still keep coming to me. The readers, they come to me and they ask me, "Do you have a cheaper version of your book? Where can we get a cheaper version? Please send us an online
Exactly.
PDF."
Yeah. Oh, your God. Yeah, I get a lot of messages about online PDFs. I mean, don't even get me started about online PDFs. Oh my God, that's another thing entirely. But yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, I really hope, and that's what brings me to my next question with Nida. Actually, that what Sara said is very true for all of us. I mean, I'm sure it's true for Laaleen as well, whose book is also being pirated. I hope that Meher's books haven't started being pirated thus far, but it's only a matter of time because that's what's going on in Pakistan. So my question to you is that do you think that things are actually changing in Pakistan, especially with new female publishers entering the industry, and especially with you writing for an anthology that just came out recently? That how has the experience been for you, and what are your thoughts on this, the piracy situation in Pakistan?
Avais, I don't want to be playing the devil's advocate here, and first I'd also like to correct. I'm not a barrister. I'm just an advocate. So I just wanted to correct that for record. But yeah, as an advocate, I've looked at the copyright laws as well. We've given trainings on that together as well. So the law is there on paper, and the awareness obviously is always lacking, and I think the major issue is with the implementation. And as with Urdu Bazaar people, we know that they're very upfront about it, that this is their bread and butter and they're going to do it, and there's nothing you can do about it because they know that there's not going to be any consequence or any accountability of their actions. So part of it is obviously that awareness. This comes with the fact that you cannot be stealing someone's work and publishing it like that,
Yeah,
and the fact that it's not okay. Now obviously when you bring these issues, they say, oh, these are such first world problems. Do you even realize people want to read your work? So isn't that good enough? Look at the ratio of poverty here, look at the rate of inflation. So it should just be great. It should be just like acceptable that there are readers out there who still want to purchase a book. But they don't make that connection that by buying those pirated copies, they're not really contributing. They're neither
exactly.
contributing to the GDP, they're not contributing to the they're not doing anything which will be of benefit to Pakistan, to its resources, to its authors. They're not helping the industry in any way. But I guess that has really got a lot to do with the fact that this is still such a developing area of concern. And with more enforcement and awareness and maybe challenges to such people, it has to be a battle that has to be fought at every level, which is why I think Authors Alliance is one of those platforms through which that battle can be run. So I know that piracy runs deep, but we do need to take a collective stance on that, and there needs to be more outrage over it, I feel, so that people actually understand what this is, and they just think that, oh, sasti mil rahi hai, le lo, because they just think in terms of a commodity. They don't think of it in terms of its impact on the economy or on the author. So I think that is very, very important to make that connection for the people to understand what happens and how it impacts not just the author, not just the publisher, but Pakistan on the whole. So I mean, those are micro level issues, but we also have macro level issues. So for example, our authors are mainly operating within Pakistan. It's very difficult for them to have their work reach out officially and through proper trade channels to wider markets. So even that's another challenge. And I think that's where we can talk about how female publishers will be filling that gap. And of course, Mehr and Laaleen will help us understand that better. But I'm just going to be touching upon it by saying that at least, yes, there are more voices now, which will hopefully break some of the monopolies that have categorized the industry in Pakistan. And this will hopefully lead to a more inclusive and a more equitable market in the future. And with the help of social media and through other kind of advocacy, I hope that we're able to take the work to bigger markets as well, because I very firmly believe that our stories need to be shared with the world. And I see a lot of potential in these stories, not just in the form of books, but also in the form of potential movies and the showbiz industry that can really take forward a positive image of Pakistan, or whatever image of Pakistan that our stories authentically are showcasing. And why should they not be shared with the world? Why should we not have a bigger platform for the work that is being produced in Pakistan? So I think that all of this landscape, the female publishers are going to be, at least I have very high hopes that they are going to be working on these issues, but they do need support. They can't do this alone. Like Mehr said, that she doesn't have sponsors. There's hardly a system. There's no subsidy. There's no government. Like there's not even an awareness in the chambers of commerce and industry and all other government departments that this is something which is a lucrative industry, which can actually, if not in the shape of books, but then in the shape of the movie rights, or in terms of related businesses that come from storytelling, can really, really bring a lot of revenue for Pakistan. So they're not really thinking and making those connections. So as the anthology is
Absolutely.
concerned, uh, uh, the experience was amazing, because I'm not really an author in terms of my degree, that I've done my law degree. So my writing obviously is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's because of people like you who gave us that platform 3 or 4 years ago when you started the Writing Institute courses. So that was our introduction. Then of course my editor Sana Munir was amazing with the whole process, and I appreciate her effort, because she really changed it for us, for people who had a story to share but no experience or platform as such to be trusted by, say, an established publisher. She was ready to take that chance with us, and also because it was an anthology, a collection of short stories, so they had like very senior authors contributing to it, and us amateur, or still in the training process, writers as well. And that turned out really well, and I think it was very current also, because pandemic is a very recent phenomena. We're still going through it, so everybody was able to resonate. But more than that, I really appreciate the trend that it has instigated and the market it has created uh, for the younger authors to have a platform. And if this book is a success, I feel that other publishers will also want to come up with similar projects. So I hope that we get to contribute more and bring out more voices through such endeavors. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So very well spoken, Nida. And I think, yeah, what you say about whatever you said actually makes a lot of sense. But I would like to ask Laaleen about this, that what exactly are your thoughts on governmental support for publishing in Pakistan? That what can the government do, and is the government doing anything at all at present? I mean, I'll also ask this of that
Sorry,
to Mehr
your
as
voice
well.
is breaking.
Yeah, is it breaking up? Yeah, so
Awais,
I wanted
are you
to
asking
ask.
me?
Yeah,
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 can
yeah.
you repeat that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about governmental support for publishing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for a country like Pakistan that's lagging behind in literacy and education, The fact that we have very few public libraries and dwindling bookshops, I would think, is a national tragedy, in my opinion. If I had my way, the government would declare this an emergency and immediately subsidize books, publishing, paper, ink, and lend full support to the sector. In addition, I would say that it's very unfortunate that books have been categorized as a commodity because that has caused trade with India to be stopped. So I would call for a new category of books so that this trade, this very essential trade, which includes textbooks, can resume. Books and publishing, I feel, are treated like a niche here when they're a mainstream necessity.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a very poignant answer, and I really want to reach out to Mehr as well. That yes, there is no governmental support as far as publishing is concerned, so publishers have had to rely on social media and other avenues in order to promote their work and promote their books. So, what are your thoughts on that, and how has the digital revolution helped you as a publisher?
Well, I mean, I'm quite happy to do things in my own private capacity because I feel like I am defining the mainstream literary industry at the moment. My published works have certainly caught the eye of our readership. With regards to the government, I think the government is missing out an opportunity in terms of what it desperately needs is a makeover. You know, on the other hand, I don't think it's my job to act as a PR agent for the government. If they want to ignore this segment of society, which is about literacy, it's a civilized industry, it's a civilized behavior, then that's their loss. As far as I'm concerned, I'm doing my thing, they're doing their thing. I am opening up genres, I am opening up markets, I'm bringing forth new creative writing, and I'm certainly defining the mainstream literary industry right now. So that's their loss, frankly speaking. The government is losing out. Like Nida said, they can monetize on this so much, and yet they refuse to do so. Well, nothing I can do to help them then. I'm not even looking towards them for help. I don't even want the help.
That's actually a very good answer, to be honest, and I really like that you've taken things in your own hands. And from I attended one of your book launches, the book launch for Zara Mead's the Burning Champa, and I think it was also well done. And you've made such a brilliant effort into making those books available for public consumption. And I think to some extent, it's also the responsibility of our bookshops as well to support new publishers. I have
No,
noticed this. I mean,
I think I think that that's the traditional form of it, where we used to rely on bookshops to stock our
yeah,
work. And frankly speaking, all I've seen at their hands is exploitation. There's zero
yes,
regulation.
yeah, yeah. Also, and not only that, but they seem to have conflicts with each other as well. So one bookshop, I mean, if you're published from, say, Liberty, you'll have a very hard time getting stocked in the readings because they have some sort of conflict going on between with each other, and that makes it impossible for a Pakistani author who has a very small readership in any case to get noticed. So we are like facing obstacles at every single place, which really sort of I think Pakistani writers have it much harder than any other writers all over across the world. That's what I would say, because not only we are a country of over 210 million people, but unfortunately we don't have a single literary agent here, and we have very few publishers. And the publishers we do have are struggling to make ends meet because nobody supports them. So yeah, so a little bit on. I'd like to ask one more question to each of you, which is first of all to Laaleen, that what are you working on now, and what can we see from Laaleen Sukhera soon?
Wow, that's a lot of pressure, Awais. Um, so I work as a consultant. I work in public relations. I do a lot of copywriting. So writing is something I do every single day, but I've also been submitting some essays to literary journals that you mentioned earlier, and I still have a couple of more to go. So I've just been very busy with my day job. I do have a novel in my head, a few of them. They just haven't translated onto paper as yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see that Pakistan got you into WME? I mean, WME is a fantastic literary agency, and it's not just a literary agency. It's like it represents all sorts of talent. So yeah, it's really nice to see Pakistani authors make inroads abroad. Always makes me very happy. So
Thank you, and
congratulations.
you as well. You as well.
Thank you so
You're
much.
with a
Uh,
fantastic agent. Yeah.
yeah, all because of support from you guys and everything. It's really helped me. And yeah, so my next question is to Sara. So Sara, what are you working on? I know that you're like a Duracell bunny. You produce books like anything. It's like literally we are at like if we're at position 1, you're probably at position 10 already. So what are you working on right now?
Whereas I think right now I'm being jinxed. I was having a very major writer block for a long time because last year was really, really difficult for me on a personal level. Yes, I was writing, but I was working for my own IT firm. I was writing blogs, I was writing articles. But as far as my next book is concerned, it's still stuck somewhere in the middle. I mean, yes, I have to take it towards the closure, and I'm hoping to get the first draft finished by the end of this month or maybe next month, inshallah. And I've promised my readers that my next book will be out in 2021, inshallah. So yeah, I'm really working on it, and it's a psychological thriller, a genre that I'm really excited about, and something that I haven't tried before. And so yes, I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope people can really, uh, like to read this new stuff coming from me.
चलो हमने तुम्हें एंड में नजर मारी थी because we're also jealous of the fact that you produce books like literally every few months
मुझे
Sara's new books coming out.
मुझे literally सबकी नजर लग चुकी है, and it's feeling really bad. So I'm trying to get out of the stage now.
I know. Chalo, I'm all the best to you.
All
And
the best to
then
you
I
as
think
well.
Meher, thank you so much. And Meher, what are you working on? What are you working on bringing forth now?
I think she got disconnected.
Oh, really? She did? Oh, oh, no. Acha, chalo, we'll start with you then, Nida. What are you working on?
Okay, so there are a couple of ideas in my mind, but I haven't been able to find the time to put them down. But what I'm really interested in is working on something for children,
Hmm.
particularly something along the lines of what Enid Blyton used to do, because I feel that children in that age group have very little contextual writing to refer to, or something that responds to relatable issues. So I wanted to work on drawing from my own childhood experiences and the extended family networks that we have, and throwing that in from a child's perspective, so to give a relatable content to children who are age say 8 or 9 or 10 to 12, 13, 14, like that age group. And I have thought of a name for that, and I want the cousins ki jo commentary hai in it, and like some sort of a famous five group that they come up with, or something like that, or some adventure or something that they go, because I feel that like my son is growing up, he's 6 years old, so he is into books, and he made his own book for his school project as well. He wrote a story, he produced that book for that project, so he is also into writing. So I was just wondering that he had no reference point as such, which was from our own culture or our own sort of way of life. So I want to fill that gap, hopefully.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic idea because this is what I mean, what you just said actually made me want to be a child again because as a child we never saw these kind of stories. I mean, I know Urdu stories hoti thi, but nothing like a Secret Seven or Famous Five
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
I really missed. I really think we missed out on it. So I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I'd be reading it even though I'm a grown up now or whatever, but I'll still be reading this because it sounds so amazing. And that is something that has
Also
been very
Harry Potter, like also Harry Potter,
exactly.
and all of these books that you come across in that age, because that's a very important age group, I feel, because children are just developing their reading skills, and schools at that level where they're starting to get independent and starting to study on their own. So I think at that time, giving them a point of reference which is not cliched and not full of an ideology and not full of just plain old adventure book that they can relate to and find themselves in, I think that is something that I want to really work on. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, no, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I'd be the first one to buy this book. And that is something this has been discussed in a lot of publishing circles as well, that we need to see more of own voices, as they say, that children want to see themselves, like minority children want to see themselves in stories as well. So, yeah, I think I'm glad that this kind of thing is shaping the narrative now. And do we have Mehr now, or is Mehr? I don't. I think she's gotten disconnected or something. So I really wanted to ask her what she is working on currently. I do know that she's published some wonderful books, like the first one, Pakistan: A Fashionable History, that she has authored with Saad Sohail. Then there's another book she published just now. It's called The Burning Champa by Zara Hamid, a really nice poetry book. And yeah, I was hoping to sort of hear more from her, but that is what technology is. You can never be sure about technology, so it always surprises us. And as for me, I'm planning on. I mean, I'm waiting for No Honor to come out. It's supposed to come out in August, so that's what's going on with me. But yeah, I think it was a really nice session, and we covered a lot of very pertinent topics. And I would like to thank you all for your time, and thank you for taking out the time to join this. Sara, Mehr, Laaleen, Nida, it was a pleasure to talk to you and catch up. I mean, I know we haven't met in a very long time because of the COVID thing, but it was so nice to see you all online. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
Likewise.
so
once
much.
again.